Call the meeting to order, and I would like to begin by acknowledging that we are in Mi'kmaq and ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. Okay, the first thing is the approval of the agenda.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Thompson. Seconded by Warden Parker. Next, emergency resolutions. Is there any of them? Okay. Okay, everything's good there, so we'll just roll right along. Errors and omissions, corrections to the minutes of October 16th, 2023. Any mistakes there? Oh, we're doing great. We keep rolling right along. We'll be out here at 7:30, you and I. Okay, the proclamation for the Heritage Month. Warden Parker, information included.
Thank you, Councillor Dewar. I'll take this down so you can hear me. Whereas November is recognized in Canada as Lebanese Heritage Month, a time to recognize and honor the many contributions of Lebanese Canadians and ongoing achievements of people of Lebanese descent all over Canada and in Stellarton in the province of Nova Scotia. Whereas we are celebrating the first year of Lebanese Heritage Month as designated by Prime Minister Justin Trudeau. Whereas this proclamation recognizes the important legacy of people of Lebanese immigrants since the 1800s, with hundreds of thousands of Lebanese Canadians residing in communities from coast to coast. This vibrant diaspora has formed an integral part of Canada's rich cultural mosaic. Their contributions have made and continue to make our country more diverse, prosperous, and inclusive. Therefore, be it resolved that I, Robert Parker, Warden for the Municipality of the County of Pictou, do hereby proclaim the month of November to be Lebanese Heritage Month. I encourage residents, businesses, and community groups to share in Lebanese cuisine, to celebrate with traditional music and dancing. Dated at Pictou, Nova Scotia, this 20th day of November 2023, signed by myself, Warden Robert Parker. And I might add that where it says in Stellarton, I think here it means in all of Pictou County. It's just that it was initiated by a councillor in the town of Stellarton.
Thank you very much, Warden. The next is the correspondence, uncirculated. There's a thank you from Northern Subway Selects for the recreation grant. A thank you from the Pictou Celtic Art Society and Recreation Startup Grant, and a thank you from Shirley Whitewood, a new fiber customer in Lochbroom. Well, that's nice to hear from her. Now, number 7 is correspondence circulated, and we have them with our package. A letter from Premier Tim Houston introducing your Health NS, and B, a letter from Peggy Cameron regarding unnecessary paving of gravel roads. A letter from Digby Mayor Ben Cleveland on support for a mainland Digby ferry between Digby NS and St. John NB. Anybody want to speak on any of them?
Sure.
Warden?
I wonder on that one from the Digby mayor to do with the ferry, were they looking for a letter of support from us, or did they just were just letting us know that they weren't happy?
I think they'd likely like to have a letter of support.
That's what I think. So I would make a motion that we send a letter to the whatever federal department it is. I believe it's a federal department. You know, encouraging them to continue the Digby ferry service, okay, and find another solution for the other problem.
Moved by Warden Parker and seconded by Councillor Andy Thompson. All in favor?
Aye. Right.
David?
I wanted to speak. I haven't seen any numbers. You know, they're short boats, clearly, or they wouldn't be considering this. But it strikes me that the number of vehicles, especially the amount of commerce, we'll call it, traveling between the Magdalen Islands and Sorry PEI, is a whole lot less than it is between Digby and St. John, especially during the lobster season, which is starting this week. Now, I think it's the springtime. They're planning or suggesting they should move this ferry, but it's sort of like, well, it just doesn't make economic sense that you would damage one area's trade, commerce, to the extent of a much smaller one. So there has to be more to this than what we're hearing, because it's pretty clear that this Digby St. John run, especially when the Yarmouth Bar Harbor ferry is not operating, is critical. It's critical to the fishery in particular. It's also, there's quite a bit, I understand, quite a bit of agricultural products move on that transportation link. So, but there's something here that's not adding up to me. Why is it that a much smaller run is getting the boat to disadvantage a much larger run? And that we may ask for their justification of, if we're writing a letter, we should ask for the justification, and we should also ask for the statistics. How much traffic travels daily on the Digby to St. John's run versus the Surrey PEI to the Magdalen Islands run. Thank you.
Is everybody in favor of adding that to the letter?
I'm fine.
Agreed?
8.
Okay, thank you, Councillor Parker. The next is the, go ahead, Councillor Palmer.
Just on the correspondence from Peggy Cameron, I also agree with her that we shouldn't be paving gravel roads, but we submitted the road list to the province, and they're the ones that have the final say, so, you know, it really comes down to the province saying which roads should be paved and which roads shouldn't be paved.
Thank you, Councillor Parker. Go ahead, Brian.
The province responded to her today and basically threw it back at us, saying it was our priority. So we'll throw it back the other way.
But it might be our priority, but they have the final say.
It is. They do acknowledge it is.
They should have went out
their
and checked it
capital
before approving it. So anyway,
Yeah, just they did respond today and threw it at us. So
Thank you. The next is the reports, communication. Need somebody to move it?
so moved.
Moved by Deputy Warden Murray, seconded by Councillor Randy Palmer. Go ahead, you're all right? Okay. All in favor, go ahead, Warden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just wanted to mention that Adam handed these, oh, sorry. So used to being on all the time. Adam handed these out tonight to anybody. I don't know if everybody got them or not, or wanted them, but I found them very useful last year. Some people really go all out, you know, and make their homes really nice looking decoration wise. And I know a lot of people can't afford to do that, and a lot of people don't have the time, but to those that do, they really make our communities look a lot better. And so I just took them around last year and hand delivered them to a few people, and they were very appreciative of it for sure, because they go to a lot of work and a lot of expense, and it is a little bit of judging, I know, to decide where you're going to draw the line between where you take them and you don't. But I don't believe that means you shouldn't do it. But I just wanted to mention that I had good success with it last year in terms of people appreciating them. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Warden. Anybody else? Okay, then we'll go on to recreation. I need a mover and a seconder. Moved by the warden and seconded by Randy Palmer. Any discussion on it? Go ahead, Councillor.
Yes, Mr. Chair, I'd like to comment and say that I'm impressed with the with the volume of work that our two full-time employees are carrying out with assistance from the other chap. The volume and the numbers of people that they're reaching has increased over the past few years, in my opinion.
Thank you, Councillor. Anybody else? Okay, then we'll move on to accounts paid September 2023.
So moved. Seconded.
Moved by David Parker and seconded by the Deputy Warden. Murray? Any questions? Okay, then we'll move on to the deed transfer tax. It's there for,
Should we have a vote on that, or do we need any votes on the report?
okay. Well, this is the first time I got to do it in 3 years, so I think I'm doing.
Already been moved and seconded.
Okay, everybody in favor? Aye. Against? Perfect. Deed transfer tax, the information is there for information purposes. Any questions on it? Okay, it's moved by Councillor Larry Turner and seconded by
I'll second it.
Councillor David Parker. All in favor? Against? Carried. Okay, taxes received report, receivable report for information purposes. I guess we don't need a mover for that, do we, or do we? No, it's just for information, that. I have a question. Okay, go ahead, Councillor Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Could you, who puts this together? Do you put this together, Karen? Could you explain exactly what each column is and what each, just explain the report to me, please?
It's, the first column is the current taxes, this year's taxes. And the second column is the arrears, anything other than this year's taxes. The next column is your interest outstanding in all taxes. Then it's the total of all of those.
So the subtotal is the total of all of them together?
Yes. Then prepaid taxes is all the credits, anybody that has a credit owing. So that pays more in excess than their taxes. And then you subtract that, you get the net receipt.
So that's for the beginning of October, right? Taxes.
That's up until October 2023, for the fiscal year to the end of October 2023.
The second row?
Second row is the same thing, on the payments that were processed for that, for the fiscal year.
So the interest that's negative there is $29,000.
Payments processed.
Negative interest there. So what does that mean?
The payments processed for the interest for the year, for that, the total of the interest, the arrears, or there was payments processed, we didn't, in October, we hadn't been adding interest up during the period when we did our final billing. So when we did our billing, we added the interest and the payments processed, and it ended up being a negative position. That's the total of the difference between the two.
Thank you,
Murray?
Mr. Chair. Karen, are we about par where we should be or usually are this time of year?
It's a little slower. The taxes receivable is higher than what normally it is.
Any other questions for Karen? Okay, we'll move on to number 9, Pictou County Wellness Center guaranteed information, and it's all in our package there. So, I guess we'll let Brian talk about that, okay?
Yeah, so as the memo indicated, the Wellness Center undertook a energy retrofit project, about 2.8 million, 2.9 million last year. They had applied for a number of grants from various sources, some of which they still, I guess, haven't heard back on, especially on the federal side. So the project is a guaranteed contract. So the provider, Johnson Controls, basically guarantees that you will meet the savings that were predicted from the various repairs that have been done to it. One of the big things was proper commissioning off the existing machinery to bring it back to where it should be operating. And that was a number of different factors, I guess, went into that over the years. Modifications were made and things like that. So the board did approve the project. The deed transfer tax funded the project up front. And while they've sorted through how they would ultimately finance it. So the board has approved a borrowing or a loan of 1.7 million in order to get the Federations of Canadian Municipalities grant. They had to borrow, in essence, 1.7 million over 10 years to get the 590,000. So those two are tied together, and then the deed transfer tax trust will be repaid 500 and some thousand over a similar period at the similar interest. As the memo says, in essence, the savings from the project will fund the debt that's incurred. But where the Wellness Center is a body corporate off municipalities, the province requires the municipalities to issue a guarantee on the borrowing. So that's what is here, is that guarantee. And as the memo kind of says, we would be actually the last resort, because the deed transfer tax trust would step in first if there was the inability for the Wellness Center to actually pay the loan type thing. So the only time the municipalities would ever come into play is if the deed transfer tax was not capable of doing that. And the board met, the deed transfer tax trust met this morning, and kind of an update on where the trust is. As of right now, the debt obligations on the trust are $14 million, which is broken down, 5.5 million to the Wellness Center, 8.5 for the hospital improvements. The current position of the trust is they have 5.1 million in surplus position, and so that leaves about 8.9 million to be raised over the next number of years. And based on the current projections, it basically, the Wellness Center debt is through 2038, and at that period in time, the current projections would be that there would be a $3.5 million surplus in that fund. And if we use the other projection, since the trust has been established, if we actually average that amount over the next 13, 14 years, there would be 7 million in the trust. So the trust is performing, so the number is probably between the 3.4 and the 7. somewhere in there. This year, as of the end of September, we're at basically 826,000 in revenue on the trust, and our budget is 853. So we're probably going to end in the, I would say, the 1.3 to 1.4 range, which is down from the 2.4 we were at last year, which was the best year ever in the trust. So we're starting to see it slow, but it's still good, type thing. So.
Okay, thank you. Councillor David Parker's first.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Brian just answered much of my question, but I guess my question now is, what are those projections based on? Are they based on the last year or two, or are they based on the model that was originally put in place?
Yeah, so the 3.5 or $3.4 million is based on the current projections. So it was revised about 5 years ago to about 850,000 is where we had been kind of trending. And so we had revised the model, and it basically grows by about 0.5% is what the projection is over the years.
Well, it's quite conservative then, the projections.
I would say.
Yeah.
I would say it is on the conservative side, which is, and the other thing we try to have, the projections are basically cash flow positive. So with the exception of the next, the model shows that the next 3 years that it would have a slight deficit each of those years, and it's really just based on the interest payments. And then once we get beyond that, the interest drops below. And then we're in positive cash flow for the rest of the 15 years.
Second question, if I may, Mr. Chair. You mentioned that the Pictou County Wellness Center pays out in 2038. When does the improvements to the Aberdeen Hospital pay out?
So based on current projections, there's a balloon payment that comes due in 2035. And based on the model, the fund will actually have enough to pay off the hospital at that time. So if the original plan was that would be a 25-year debenture, current model would have the hospital paid off in 15 type thing. The wellness center was just refinanced last year for the 15 years to bring it to the 25 years. We didn't put a balloon payment or pay that down because we had the energy project outstanding, so we didn't have that cash type thing. So it was renewed for the full 15 years, but the hospital, based on everything we're seeing now, there should be enough cash to do the balloon payments and be done in 15 years on the hospital.
Thank you, Councillor David Parker. Warden Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm a little confused myself, so I'm going to ask Brian, see if I can clarify enough. I want everybody to have the right information. So I sit on the Finance Committee at the Wellness Center Board and at the Board of Governors that met today. So I just want to be clear, we made a decision that we were going to finance most of this through FCM rather than the deed transfer tax, but we're go ahead and borrowing, getting the borrowing resolution. Are we still proceeding with FCM and then looking at paying off this when the FCM grant is here? I know, but were we not borrowing from FCM?
Yeah, so the 1.7 million is based on borrowing. It's not actually FCM. FCM goes to the market in the province where the entity is, so it's actually Municipal Finance Corporation, or now the province of Nova Scotia, because Municipal Finance doesn't exist. So that's what that 1.7 is. That's the long-term borrowing for FCM.
For FCM,
yeah.
Okay, because it's kind of confusing when
Yeah.
you hear that we're borrowing ourselves and we agreed to borrow it that way. So I just want to talk a little bit about, you know, this JCI, I think is a project. The power bill is just through the roof at the wellness center. Every month it gets worse and worse. Nobody can seem to pinpoint why. I mean, if you were running your own business and the power bill kept going up, you'd have somebody there. So this JCI was brought in to see what's wrong here, you know? And now, once they get commissioned, as Brian called it, to where everything is signed over, then if it keeps going up, it's their responsibility. They've guaranteed us that what they're doing is gonna work to save us a lot of dollars on energy. So if it keeps going up, it's on them, not on the wellness center anymore. That's why we're paying all this money to make all these improvements. And we naturally asked, well, what if it doesn't work? What if we spend all this money, it doesn't work? So there's a guarantee there now that if it doesn't work, they have to pay. So you can bet they're pretty sure that it's going to work. Some of the things that were talked about when the wellness center was first built, that never worked. The heat from the compressors for the rink was supposed to heat the pool. And it was supposed to be one of the most efficient buildings in Canada. But they say it never got commissioned right. So this is what they're doing now to make sure, you know, it's like a whole lot of people in tug of war, but they're tugging in different directions, and they're blaming that on why the power bill's so high. So hopefully it'll all work out, and even if it doesn't, these fellows are responsible now for the increase in cost, not the wellness center, because I think there was 200,000, not in savings, but money that they could have put in against this cost, the JCI, but that whole 200,000 is gone now because of the power bills. Power bills have gone up so much it chewed up all that 200,000 they could have put toward this. So hopefully this will work out, but that's what's going on anyway now in terms of trying to get that power bill under control is what this is all about. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Warden. Councillor Larry Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I may have missed something somewhere along the line, but why is the county of Pictou the one that has to pass this resolution? Where are the other units?
All units have to pass it, so
All
each of the town of New Glasgow, Pictou, Stellarton, Trenton have to pass the same resolution.
Okay, because the resolution is
It's
for-
specific to us.
that long-term debt, the 1.770 is specific to us?
No, it's specific to the wellness center. We are issuing a guarantee for 911,000 of that, which is 51.47%.
Is that in the resolution?
It's in the resolution, the guarantee resolution. It's page 2 of that, which shows the individual breakdown.
I might have missed it, I guess. Page 2?
Here, I see the guarantee resolution.
Yeah, there should be a page 2 after that.
Oh, page 2 after that? No, it goes right into grants.
Yeah.
I don't think it's there, the one that gives the individual for our municipality.
Okay. Yeah, so there is a page 2 that breaks it down. Okay, so there is a Schedule A.
Okay,
to
that
it.
explains it then.
So,
Okay.
which breaks down each of the units.
That's fine.
type
Thank
thing.
you.
Anybody else? Any questions? Councillor Palmer.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Just wondering, when is it going to be conditioned? Like, when's this coming into effect?
2 or 3 weeks?
Yeah, they're two to 3 weeks away from
2 or 3
the substantial completion of it, which is about 6 months behind where it's supposed to be. But it is finally getting there.
The other thing is, it's solely based off the power bills, power savings, is it? Is that
Consumption,
Consumption,
So
right?
it's
So
based
many
on-
kilowatts.
exactly.
Because you couldn't go by the price because of.
Price
goes up,
changes,
right?
yeah.
Price changes. So if there is a savings of 300,000, then they only have to pay 69,000 to the wellness center, is it? If they're showing a savings of 300,000, then they,
Correct, so they would have to make up, that's right, so the projected savings are 369. If it's only 300, they write a check to the Wellness Center for 69,000.
Is that on a monthly basis that they'll do that, or is it, or are they gonna do it yearly?
Think it was talked about potentially doing it quarterly, but not monthly because the administrative
Yeah.
back and forth, so.
No, I hope it works out. It's a good deal if you can have something guaranteed, so. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Palmer. Any other questions? Okay. Councillor Palmer?
Maybe you don't know, and I'll just ask the question. What is the power bill for, power consumption for 1 month? I know when we were getting the reports here years ago, it was 95,000, like for the power alone.
I think it's a lot more than that. for sure, but we were-
That was a month, right?
Yeah,
I was just curious, that's all.
Yeah, it's in through the end of September, it was 800, was it 800,000 through the end of September?
yeah, it seems to ring a bell. I
So
thought I
that's
might
6
have it here
months.
somewhere.
6 months and, yeah, no, I was just curious, that's all.
It's significant.
Thank you. Deputy Warden Murray?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I would move that we give the warden and the CAO permission to sign the resolution.
Second it.
Moved
So
by-
it'll go to council. You'll actually have to do it at your December council. That resolution will be, yeah, so it's just a recommendation to council.
So we don't vote on that.
Well, you vote on the recommendation, but, yeah.
Okay, all in favor? Against? Motion carried. Thank you. Number 10, staff bonuses. Staff Christmas bonuses in 2022 were $150 each. Council has decided staff bonuses to be granted again this year, and if so, what will the amount?
I'll move that we grant bonuses in the same amount as last year.
Moved by Councillor David Parker and seconded by Councillor Randy Palmer, that they remain the same as the 2022 bonuses. All in favor? Against?
88,000.
Motion carried.
But he said there were 90
Okay,
of them.
next is municipal service grants, District 3. Bayshore Area Neighborhood Watch, $2,170.68, erection of signs in community, and for a total of $2,170.60. We need somebody to move that.
So moved.
Moved by Councillor Palmer, seconded by Councillor David Parker. All in favor? No heat with potato. What happened?
It's all right.
Deputy Warden.
Palmer?
No, he's. Wayne, moved it,
Okay.
that's all.
Moved by Deputy Warden Wayne Murray and seconded by Councillor David Parker. All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. District 12, Eureka Fire Department, $3,000, ongoing fire hall projects, and B would be the Candy Cane Committee for $1,250, annual event, for a total of $4,250. Moved by Councillor Andy Thompson and seconded by Councillor David Parker. All in favor?
Aye.
Against? Carried. Community Generator Program, information included, Eureka Fire Department, $3,540, installation of generator. West River Fire Department, $4,870, installation of generator, for a total of $8,410. Moved by Councillor Thompson and seconded by Councillor David Parker. All in favor? Aye. Against? Carried. Community connectivity event, Recreation 13 and Planning Commission, $1,500, holiday festive expenses. Moved by Councillor Palmer and seconded by Councillor Deputy Warden Wayne Murray. See, I'm trying to get done at a certain time, you're just rushing me too hard. Okay, the next is number 14. Internet,
Do we have to vote on that?
yes,
You
we
sh- yeah, I
did,
don't
it.
think-
Everybody was forward.
I didn't hear.
Okay. All in favor? Aye. Against? None, perfect. Number 14 is the internet for the community halls, so we'll get some information from Brian on that, I guess.
I don't really have anything to add beyond the memo. Kind of the requests, we've had a number of requests come in from community halls that are warming centers, comfort centers. So I guess the recommendation would be that where possible, we would give that service for the centers for free.
Okay, any, Councillor Thompson?
So I agree that we need to provide the service to our volunteer departments. The present suppliers of wireless internet are doing that right now. I've had requests in my area from the fire department in Bridgeville, the Bridgeville Community Hall, outside of the areas that have our comfort centers that are also, that would sort of fall between the cracks in this recommendation. So I would like to broaden it to community centers. A lot of residents in these areas, because there's no cell coverage, they meet and congregate at a community center parking lot to rob a signal. So I think that it's important that, because presently the private suppliers of wireless internet in Pictou County are supplying that service to community centers. So I would like to broaden that beyond just comfort centers and add other community-owned facilities or community buildings, whether they're a fire department or a community center. So I'd like to add that to the recommendation if I could, and I'll make that a motion, and I'll look for a seconder so we can discuss it.
Moved by Councillor Thompson and seconded by Councillor Larry Turner that we discuss further the recommendation given by Councillor Thompson. Is that all right with everybody? Okay, David.
I don't have a problem with the change. My question would be, who's paying for this? Are we paying for it, or like, if it's TNC Wireless providing the service to a particular hall, then how, and they're expected to service that if something happens to it, who's paying for the service?
So we would pay if it's our service, like,
Yeah, that part I understand.
yeah, but
If it's one of our ISPs, they expect to provide it as a freebie for them, or?
yeah, so under the plan, if it's a wireless service, it would be ours. On the fiber side, we can provide it at no cost, because we in essence have a group of IP addresses that have been kind of segregated for the network and just ourselves, internal use. So we would give those halls an IP address for us. So it would be the county of Pictou, so there wouldn't be a charge. They wouldn't go through an ISP. We would be able to be the provider in that case, but so it would be a free service, because we wouldn't want to be competing against the ISP or charging a fee when the ISP should be doing it. So it would have to be free, because we don't want to compete against them.
Thank you.
Councillor Thompson?
So right now, there's a number of halls that get a free signal from Seaside as one, and TNC is the other one. But I received, there's some people on the wireless system out in the Bridgeville area, and they're firefighters, and they send a request in basically saying, we would like to have this service at our hall, because it's a better quality service than what is there now. And it's no fault of Seaside's, it's just the technology changed. And that's the concern there. because they're not a comfort center. They're just a fire department. They don't have the ability to host people in that hall. So, and then up the road, the Bridgeville Community Center would have the same issue. They need the signal as well. So I would broaden it to all community centers. That's as simple as I can say it.
Councillor Turner?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, I'm a little confused. The community centers will be included in this. Are the fire departments as well? If they are comfort centers, but is there any orphans that will have to be identified that we would need in this?
I guess when I originally put the motion on, it was for community buildings, right?
Community
Like,
buildings.
yeah, so like if it's a fire department, like I'll say in my area, it would be East River Valley that would be, and Blue Mountain, that would probably benefit from this, because they have no internet there now. They have, or very spotty internet, and they're hot spots. People park in their parking lots to get a signal, to send a text message or whatever they're doing.
So a fire department is not considered a community building?
It's a community building,
It
yes.
is a community building as well?
Yes, so it'll be community halls and fire
And
departments.
fire departments, okay.
And some buildings would probably want a more premium service, and the wireless option might be able to provide them, I don't know.
Okay, thank you.
Any other? Deputy Warden Murray?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I agree with Andy's saying, but I think maybe it might be covered in item number 3, because there might be some halls that we can't serve, and then what do we do? That'd be the problem. Under your motion, you're saying that all halls, right? That's the only concern I have.
If available.
If serviceable. But what defines a community hall, I guess? Like, what is that definition, true definition? Is it just run by a not-for-profit? They own the building. Own the building, not-for-profit, just for definition purposes? Okay.
And they would supply, I guess one of the services, if I could, Mr. Chair. I guess one of the services you can request them to supply is a hotspot, a place where people can get on the internet in some of these more rural areas. And I know some of the other providers that have provided free internet services, the only thing they ask for is a sign. The internet's provided by, and it's an opportunity for you to build goodwill in the community.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I think I would like to move this to table so it comes back clear exactly what it says, so the policy is correct, and instead of putting pieces in it at our next meeting.
That's agreed. Well, if it's tabled, it's tabled, but anyway, everybody's agreeing with that?
You have to vote on the table.
Okay, let's have a vote then. All in favor of the tabled motion? Aye.
Second.
Seconded.
Against? One nay. Anything else come before the meeting? Okay, we'll adjourn the financial services.
Not a record for months.
I'd like to call the proper service meeting to order. First, I'd like to begin by acknowledging that we are in the Mi'kma'ki, the ancestral and unceded territory of the Mi'kmaq people. And I too, Chester, would like to say you did a great job, because I get people mixed up all the time, and I've been doing it for years. Someday you get a brain freeze and you can't remember. So, okay. Anyway, next is the approval of the agenda. Moved by Councillor Turner. Second by Councillor Wadden. All those in favor, signify by saying aye. Count by nay, motion carried. Is there any emergency resolutions? Is there any emergency resolutions? Is there any emergency resolutions? Hearing none, we'll move on. Is there any errors, omissions, corrections to the minutes of October 16, 2023? Is there any errors, omissions, corrections to the minutes of October 16? One more time. Is there any errors, omissions, or corrections to the minutes of October 16? Hearing none, we'll consider those approved. Next is reports. First up is the Public Works and Development report. Moved by Councillor Butler. Second by Councillor Wadden. Any questions on the Public Works and Development report? Warden Parker.
First of all, I'd like to say I appreciate this report because it covers a lot of bases. A lot of us are wondering, where's this at and where's that at and how far are we getting along? This kind of briefly describes where a lot of things are at. I want to comment on the Salem Water Extension Project. They're doing a great job, I think. They've finished all the old Transcanada now pretty well, and they're just crossing over, and they've been into the loop for quite a while. They haven't started up the hill yet, but I think most people in the community are more than satisfied. And I'm hearing some rumors that in fact, they told me it was at church on Sunday that, oh, well, here we're getting the sewer now too next summer. And I said, oh, news to me. I wish it was. But anyway, I know we did receive some information from the MLA's office on a provincial money that's not a large amount for all the municipalities, and our CAO is going to be sending our application in, but it was good that she forwarded that to us and suggested that maybe that might be a way to get there. I don't know if that's where the rumor grew from or not, but anyway, our CAO is going to get that in on time and everything, so we don't have anybody telling us we didn't do it right, but so hopefully there may be something to that. The other question I want to ask was on the Blue Acre sidewalks. I noticed they met with the Provincial Department of Public Works and requested acceptance of excluding the mid-crossing islands. I take it there's two of them there. Oh, there's only one? No, but I thought there was two. I thought there was one when you cross the end of the Plymouth or East River West Side Road, and one where you cross from the bottom of McClellan's Brook, or was there only one?
There's just one. Hey.
Go ahead.
Thanks for the question. So the goal here was to, we looked at options for islands and we looked at options for no islands. So the current option that we have in front of the provincial department is for a rolling curb to give pedestrians a level of safety, and so that your average car doesn't travel over it, but to reduce the walking distance across the road, thereby removing the need for the island. What we found was that putting the island in, unless you had a rolling island, like an island that you could drive over, any vehicle path for big transport trucks and stuff like that, regardless of how you would take the turn, there's no way to get through it without crossing into where the island would need to be. So because of that, transport trucks would be capable of crossing these rollable curbs. There'd be one rollable curb and one full-size curb, similar to what you see on some of the roundabouts and things like that, just to help you make the curve if you're a transport truck driver. So that's what we have in front of the province right now.
So these, if I might, Mr. Chair, the safety aspect of the islands, I can quite easily figure out. You know, you only have to get halfway, like in the Glasgow George Street there. You only have to get halfway to be safe. But I see the complication that it's not wide enough to allow those big trucks to make the turn. So you're then trying to replace that safety of having the islands by this rolling curb. Is that does that give safety to the, let's say, an older person trying to get across and it's quite a long distance to go?
Yeah.
How does that improve their safety by having this rolling curb?
So, just for one point, my fear with the rolling curb was that it provided no safety to somebody stranded in the middle of the island, if you had the rolling curb in an island. But the idea here is that a car, a van, a regular truck, something like that, isn't going to drive over the rolling curb. So you'll be protected by the 6-inch curb before you get under the rolling curb. And even that rolling curb does provide a certain amount of protection. And it's the professional truck drivers that will be the only ones that potentially roll the curb, or the rollable portion of the curb. So we didn't want somebody to be stranded in the middle of the intersection on a rollable curb. The rationale was that if you're on the rollable curb at the entrance to the intersection, just off of this full-size curb, you're safer there than you would be right in the middle of the island.
I guess it's not sinking into me, I might have to look at it, but I just want to make sure that people cross, and especially people that have some disability or older people, it is a long crossing in some of these places, and trying to provide safety for them. I'm not picturing how that works. I picture how an island works, no problem, but I'm not quite picturing a rolling curb, but that's all right. People that know more than me can work that out, as long as we're making things as safe as possible.
Yeah, safety is the most important thing. And I can share a sketch with the group before we move into tendering or anything like that.
Yeah, it's just, it's not sinking in
just for
my
clarity.
thick head tonight. But no, that's fine. And we'll get a new pricing or whatever, or did the pricing change because of this change?
The pricing for the consultant changed because of this change, but I expect the pricing for construction to decrease a little bit.
Yeah, you're not gonna be building the islands anymore. So are we any further along on the design, like in terms of some of the other, there was mention before about having to build some concrete walls or whatever somewhere?
Yeah, we are further along, and but we still don't know whether or not we need those concrete walls. Right now, we're dealing primarily with that large intersection between McClellan's Brook Road and the East River East Side Road, trying to get the geometry there. Because if we don't have the geometry there that's going to be approved by the province, then it's a non-starter. So we need to get that geometry approved. So I don't have an update on whether or not we are going to need retaining walls. I do believe we're going to need retaining walls behind the columns at the overpasses, but I don't have an updated cost on that right now.
Okay, thank you for that. And I have one more if I might, or if you want to come back to me?
No, go ahead.
Okay, on this building, we talked about the problems we had last summer with the cooling and then getting ready for winter, and I guess winter's sort of here, on the heating. Looking toward what the Climate Change Advisory Committee requested was to look at the energy efficiency of this building, and what we approved that, I guess, in the budget to do that much, but not to look at the bigger project. Where are we right now on, you know, is our heating system up to scratch for this winter in this building, or are we waiting some days to wonder if we'll have heat or not? The same with the cooling for next summer. Where are we?
We still have heating issues in this building. We thought that we had the heating in a fairly good place, but then about a week and a half ago or so, maybe 2 weeks ago, the motor for our in-floor heating pump failed. So we had Carmichael in to look at that, and they're looking to source another pump for us. So the building, we've had some complaints from staff that the building has been cold, especially on these cold days, and especially on the days where the sun isn't really shining. So what Carmichael had suggested that we've worked with our building controls company is to increase the heat of the supply air to try to bring the temperature up a little bit, and it seemed to help. And then today I got a couple more complaints, so we've asked them to bump that up again just to see if that helps. And the overall pump replacements that we contracted out are expected to be completed by mid-December at the latest. So within about a month, that should be completed. So that'll take care of our heating. Our air conditioning is up to scratch now. And as far as, sorry, I think I heard the question too, but the energy
Well,
auditing?
the next year, you know, looking beyond an old oil boiler and
Yeah.
getting into something more efficient. Yeah.
Yeah, so I still need to do more work on identifying potential consultants for that. I had done some and haven't run it the whole length yet, so I still need to do that and get that out to consultants to give us some prices for the energy audit and then leading into the recommendations for building improvements.
Okay, I think we just gotta keep a close eye on it because it's something we wanna modernize. At the same time, we need to keep the people that are working here comfortable, whether it's in the heat of the summer or cold of the winter. And, the air conditioning probably will work pretty good for the rest of the winter.
Yeah. No, thank you, Warden.
Okay, Councillor Dave Parker.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to comment on both the depth and the breadth of that report. It's an excellent report. There seems to be more going on now than went on the last 10 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor.
Councillor Larry Turner.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And I echo their sentiments as well on the report, so it's very helpful.
Thank you.
In terms of the Alma Housing Project, you had said you required additional information and clarification from Innovair. It includes alterations to the overall project scale and may include a subdivision of parcel which would require significant servicing changes than those previously presented previously. Can you just review a little bit what was presented previously and what they're asking for now?
Yes, thanks for the question. And actually, since I completed this report Friday, I had a detailed phone call with the developer with regards to this as well. The original proposal, if you might recall, was for a 28-unit residential rental development with half of those units being affordable. They had gotten some provincial money. Some of the buildings were intended to be standalone single units and some were intended to be duplexes, so separate units on either side. The developer had already constructed one structure on site. It has not been serviced, and so upon further review and the delay in getting some information, we have been maintaining that we needed to get information back from the developer's engineering consultant to provide the servicing. So you might also remember that we had put some an in-kind amount from Municipal Council for the provision of the larger diameter services for the larger development. So the developer is having some financial setbacks in carrying out the entirety of the project. What they asked at first was whether or not we could provide a single standalone small diameter service, like a standard service that we would provide to a standard residence to the property. And we told them that we could, but unfortunately that would negate the in-kind amount for the larger diameter services because we can only provide, under our best practices, one set of water and sewer services to a single property. So what they've proposed is to subdivide out a small lot on which the current building is constructed that we could then service and not negate the further subdivision. The developer isn't sure whether or not they're not sure of what their time frame is to proceed. I don't think it's prudent for this municipality to provide those large diameter services until we have some guarantee of what that's going to buy the municipality in terms of housing units. So what Brian and I discussed and what we've talked about with the developer is to work to enter into a services agreement with them, which would put certain requirements on them to achieve in order to receive that in-kind amount. So now we're working on that, and we're expecting for the developer, they're working with a legal surveying company to complete some sort of a subdivision. We had told them that we're happy to work with them and help them to get the best bang for their buck in their subdivision application to try to promote as much development as they can in a reasonable context and under our current rules. And so at this point, we're waiting for further information from them and their legal surveying company while I work on the servicing agreement, which Brian and I will review and then would ultimately make its way back to council for review and approval. Thanks.
Okay, anything further? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Count my nay, motion carried. Next is the Development Officer's Report. Moved by the Warden. Second by Councillor Dave Parker. Any questions? Warden Parker.
I'm looking under my own district, District 6, and trying to figure out what some of these words mean, I guess. I take it there's stuff going on in my district, but I haven't seen a sign of it. But this is the early stage, I guess. So the words final filed, final registration, and final approved are all there. Can you explain what those mean, each one of those terms?
Yeah, thank you. So when we receive an application and the application is complete, it's filed. When it's more or less approved by the development officer, it would be registered, sent to the land registry's office, and when the final subdivision is approved, that's when it would be marked as approved. So that's when the actual.
So the first step is to have somebody applies for it, but then you simply make out the application, put it in the file. That's filed.
Yeah.
Okay, and then at some point it has to go through somebody and then be approved.
Yeah.
So is that through you fellows here, or is that somebody else that's approving
That's
it?
through us and the other jurisdictional authorities, whether it be the province or the, like.
So if somebody wants to subdivide their field into half a dozen lots, it becomes filed, and then it becomes approved, and then it becomes registered.
I would say it's registered first, then it's approved, but it has to adhere to it has to adhere to our subdivision bylaw and any other, whether it's if it's got private roads, we have to meet our private roads policy, different things like that. It would have to meet the Environment Act and the rules that they have, the Provincial Environment Act with regards to their subdivision rules. Whether it's a municipality-owned road or the Provincial Department of Public Works, Transportation, it would need to have their approval as well. And then it has to be reviewed and approved by the land registry's office and PIDs created, that kind of thing. Easements registered, that kind of thing as well.
Through you, Mr. Chair, are the majority of them approved, or do only half of them get approved? Or there's a lot come, I know, but do some of them just run into roadblocks they can't do anything about and they move on?
Most of them get approved. I could get firm statistics on how many, because I know that we were reviewing it today. We have 95 files this year, which is, we expect to be over 100 when this is all done, like probably 110 or something like that. So,
months ago, yeah.
So yeah, we could do a review and determine how many are ultimately making it the full distance. If that's something that would be of value.
It's just if somebody asks you in your district, you know, I'd send them to you fellows, but, you know, sometimes you run into hitches and nobody's gonna be able to get past those hitches. I think there was one in Wayne's area we looked at where somebody wanted to do it, but they thought we were gonna do it all, put the road in, do the whole thing for them, you see, and when they found out we weren't, they decided they'd sell the property. No, I just, when I look at a bunch of terms I don't understand, I figure, well, I might as well find out what they mean.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Deputy Warden.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Logan, on the one that's major changes, street type, water type, and sewer type, I don't know what page that is, 48 or 49. And District 5, which I represent, boundary change, it says, and then under the water type, it's municipal existing. There's no existing municipal water in District 5.
Sorry, where are we? Are we in the districts or?
On the District 5 for under like major change, street type, water type, sewer type.
Oh, I think I see where we are.
So under the water, it's municipal existing.
you're talking about, which file number, sorry? PC.
Oh, okay, sorry, file
S
number
2023 dash.
2033-083.
Okay, so, it's a public municipal existing, I would have to look at, yeah, I'm not sure why that would say municipal existing.
Yeah, 'cause
It might mean existing well, it might be a typo or something.
That's what I was wondering.
I'll
Okay.
look into that and see, because I don't
Yeah,
think,
I'll check with you
Yeah.
sometime, man.
yeah, we definitely don't have water out there, so, yeah, thanks.
Okay, is there anything further? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Count by nay, motion carried. Next is the emergency services report. Moved by Councillor Turner, second by Councillor Wadden. Any questions? Evan's not here tonight, so. Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Count by nay, motion carried. Next is the building inspection report. Oh, sorry. Fire inspector, I missed one there. Next is fire inspector's report. Moved by the Deputy Warden, second by Councillor Turner. Any questions? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Count by nay, motion carried. Now is the building inspection report. Moved by Councillor Wadden, second by Councillor Turner. Any questions on it? Seeing none, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Count by nay, motion carried. Next is the bylaw officer's report. It's a little nicer report, I see. Much easier to read. Need a mover? Moved by Councillor Turner. Second by Deputy Warden. Any questions on it? Seeing none. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Count by nay. Motion carried. Next is the warden's report. Everybody can ask a question here if they want. Let's move by Councillor Dorr. Second by Councillor Butler. Fire the questions away. Don't see any. Okay.
I will say, Mr. Chair, it's been busy the last 2 or 3 months.
It has been.
A lot of stuff going on. I don't get to everything, unfortunately. Sometimes 2 or 3 invites come on the same day. I was hoping to be out in River John to a fireman's banquet out there on Saturday night. The weather was looking pretty wild. It never really materialized what they said, so I didn't get to that one. But certainly I'm more than willing to go to anybody's district if there's something special going on. But it has been, like I say, pretty busy over the last number of months anyway. But no, I don't have anything special for tonight.
Don't have anything?
Jeez.
Jeez.
No goodies tonight.
Oh, goodies.
Just encourage everybody to go to our Christmas social, and that's coming up. I noticed the invite was sent out now and everything.
Yeah. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Count by nay, motion carried. Next is community announcements. Is there any community announcements? Councillor Dave Parker.
I have 2 items, only one's an announcement. On December 2nd, the Union Center Community Hall, 2 to 5 in the afternoon, that's a Saturday. There will be a meet and greet, or specifically inviting newer residents of our communities. And there will be what they call a COVID Santa for children up to age 10. COVID Santa is where Santa comes in, stays behind the barrier, and he does his thing, and there's gift bags there for, and if we're on the ball, he will have a list of children's names that are on his good list. Anyway, that's 2 to 5, December 2nd, Union Center Community Hall. The second item I want to bring out is not on the agenda. I found out today that Saltwire, used to be known as Chronicle Herald, now wants to charge me to read obituaries. Being an elected individual, I like to keep up with people who pass. And I know that you have to pay to put an obituary in the Chronicle Herald, a significant sum of money, depending on how long it is. And now they want to charge us to read it. Well, I told them no. Now, their argument was to support connectivity in our communities. It's doing exactly the opposite. Okay, it's hard enough now without without our local radio station carrying death notices. It's very easy for people that aren't computer literate not to know when someone has passed. I was talking to a fellow the other day, and I said, "Oh, so-and-so passed away." "Did he? I didn't hear that. When did he pass away?" Well, it turned out it was October 30th. You know, it was 2.5 weeks. He didn't know. So we're losing yet another. I don't think there's anything to do about it. I told them I would simply remove salt wire from my favorites list completely. I depend upon going to H.W. Angus or whoever. I check them so that I don't miss. Because it's really embarrassing when you go and you ask someone, "How's your mother?" "Oh, we buried her 2 weeks ago." Oh, that's very embarrassing. So that's why I like to keep up. I think it's one of the things we need to do as elected people. But it's just a shame that Saltwire, Chronicle Herald, has become so greedy they have to charge you as an ad to publish it, and then they want to charge you to read it. I will not be subscribing.
Okay, any more community announcements? Deputy Warden.
Thanks, Mr. Chair. It's not a community announcement, but you'll receive electronically sometime this week about our meeting for next Monday night for the meeting procedures. I'd like everybody to try to go over that as much as they could before the meeting. And I think Brian's going to have a summary of it when we come to the meeting because it is quite depth. So I ask everybody to read it and write down your questions. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Councilor Butler.
Yes, Mr. Chair. We'll be having our annual Senior Appreciation Banquet or Christmas dinner in Lismore, and that will be on Sunday, the 3rd of December, and it's for all seniors 65 and over are being invited.
Okay.
It's on Sunday, the 3rd of December. At 4 in the afternoon.
Warden Parker.
I've been there, forgot, but this Sunday coming is the, I believe it's called the Pictou County Christmas Fund. Will be on the, I don't know what airwaves it's on now, but it'll be on some airwaves and whatnot. They're doing it, I think it's being done, it's usually done at the cost, but because of the construction there, it's being done at the Wellness Center again, so it's being done in a different way, not as much in person, but I am going to be there on behalf of this council. I believe we approved $1,000 in our budget to go toward. You're not going to sing, well, I'm going to leave a mask on when I sing, so it'll be muffled. So I just want everybody to know that's going on. If you're, they need all kinds of contributors for sure. So if you can phone in or whatever, that's good. And but we did agree before that this council would give the $1,000. So I'll be there doing that Sunday afternoon sometime.
Okay, is there anybody else? Seeing none, I got one announcement to make. If you hadn't read your agenda there today, it was in there, right? Save the date, holiday festival. It's December 9th at the rink in Thorburn from 4 to 7. It's going to be skating, sleigh rides, hot chocolate, bonfires, vendors market, cafe, Christmas cafe, musical entertainment. So I know you guys won't be able to make it because you'll be at the Christmas supper. So I'm just asking if somebody could deliver mine out to the rink. Because I seen the agenda or the menu there tonight and it looked pretty good. I might just slip in, grab and slip out. But anyway, sorry I won't be able to make it tonight or on December 9th, but I hope everybody else enjoys it. Talk to you later. We're adjourned.